Okay, welcome everybody. Hi, my name is Wendy and you are watching Wendy Makes Art. Let me turn the camera just a little bit. Tonight is Friday Night Dinos, where we draw dinosaurs. And so for those of you who are new here, or if you've never watched this broadcast, I am recreating famous artworks through history with dinosaur tales. And it's kind of one of those ever-evolving things. When I started out, it was more based off of models. Now I'm doing a lot more of research and bones and everything else. So what you see right here, I have to go grab the original piece so you can kind of see. And of course, this is like a big piece. So I designed it to scale, and then I've been reworking this. And tonight what we're going to do, I'm just going to bring this over in here to show you a little more of what's going on. You kind of see in here. And then I'm going to talk about it, and we'll talk about what I'm doing, and we're going to make templates to try to rescale some things. Lebowski, welcome. And also we can talk about, did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? How can I do it better? And what my next plan is for the phase for this. So let me grab that image. I have been working on this on a different workstation, and I know that I broadcast from that location before, but sometimes I think it was just, I didn't like the camera that was on it. I thought it was a little bit fuzzy, so we are trying something new. And then also I can probably come in here and make sure that this footage is clean and bright. And this is why we don't have paint out, because the terror just jumped on the art already. That took her about what, 30 seconds maybe? Oh, she is so bad on pose. And she went off the back edge of it. So this is the famous painting, Botticelli, Birth of Venus. I believe it has a longer name. I'd have to dig through my files that are over here. And I wanted to recreate this piece with dinosaurs. So let me tell you where I am with it and what we're doing next, so you have a really good idea for what we're doing tonight and why I'm doing it. So some of the stuff I reworked. This is watercolor and gouache, and I drew, redrew, painted on top, and it's more of a color study as well as developing a composition. So if we look up here on this left-hand side, you'll see I've got these two angels, and I really wanted them to be some form of a Cretaceous period pterodactyl. I know that they have many names. So working on developing these guys, trying to figure out what I'm doing with the top of the head. I've looked at their bones, and it's really interesting. I didn't see where they curled back like a pelican. A pelican in flight has a little bit of a curl like this, and I don't quite have it in this guy. However, I think that's important in looking at these birds and modern birds today. I really wonder if perhaps their neck bones, it looked like they could be curled back, and I thought that was fascinating. So I was going to pick up a little concept of that pterodactyl. And also in the bones themselves of fossils, this beak has this area under it, and I wondered if they had a pouch just like these pterodactyls had. So I thought I could build something into that as well. And then I want to pick up on the colors. So these two are going to have a little bit of a difference. You'll see that she is paler. His legs are pale. He doesn't wear pants, so I thought his legs were kind of pale. But look how pale her body is. It really mirrors Venus. And he's warmer. And then these wings have red and green and gold in them. And then there's red. So I try to carry that throughout this. Now I think that I need to scale them down, so that's one of the things that we're going to do with tracing paper today is start drawing it, then take it aside and scale it down and see how it looks at a smaller scale. So our tools tonight are pretty simple. I grabbed, you could work in pencil or pen or marker. I grabbed tracing paper to work on this piece tonight, and I grabbed my Derwent drawing pencils, which are like a colored pencil. They're very creamy, they're fun to draw with, so I thought it would just be nice to draw in different colors on these or work these ideas out. That's it. That's all we need is our painting that we're trying to develop, and then the reference photo, tracing paper, and something to draw with, and probably an eraser if you want one. Okay, so that's the top left corner as you're looking at this. Pterosaurs aren't, yeah, I know they're not dinosaurs, and they're more like a flying lizard, aren't they? Like more of a flying reptile. They're not, they're kind of this own thing, right? So Lebowski, if you want to update anybody in the chat, or if I end up having a dinosaur expert on here, feel free to chime in or make a comment on the video. We are streaming on YouTube and the Wendy Makes Art channel on Twitch TV, so you can watch on either platform. I hear that YouTube, for those who are in a rural area, works a little bit better. Either one works, and you can also watch the VOD later and throw chat comments. I am sucky as far as responding to things right now, but I'm getting better and I'm working on it. So hang in there with me. I think this is going to be an amazing project, and it should turn into quite an incredible exhibit in 2 or 3 years. So that's what we're working towards. I think it'd be a great educational piece to talk about art, famous arts in history, what made them interesting, but also to kind of merge it with creatures from way back, Jurassic, Cretaceous, just evolutionary history, and all of these animals from way, way back. Okay, so there's that little guy. Now on the right hand side, I'm gonna zoom up and over here and hope that you guys can see it. All right, I thought this was really interesting, and I don't quite have it right, but it's getting better. This guy, which I think is in the ichthyosaur family, is very dolphin-like. They had these long, beaky snouts. I could probably even make it a little longer, so we may play with that a little bit. And I chose to do this on this side, like it jumping up, because I liked this shape, this movement. She's either lifting I think she's lifting something to cover her, but I'm not quite sure. You don't really know. It does look like she's lifting it up to cover her. And I wanted to pull these colors in. So I thought in this situation, of course, they don't have fabric in dinosaur times, but what they probably had a lot of was kelp or seaweed or some kind of thing in the ocean that grew, some kind of slimy growth. I don't know. So with that being said, I thought kelp would be a really good, you can do yellows and golds, and I can pull those colors into it. And so I'm going to toy with trying to bring that kelp into the mouth of this dinosaur, or this ichthyosaur, which isn't a dinosaur because it's more of a fish. Anyway, I don't even know what they are. Things are so old that critters back then aren't even what you'd think they'd be. Okay, upper right hand corner, of course, we have forest, a lot like this, only it's going to be more like the trees from that time period, which were really tall, yellow-green trunks from what I can see, and these are more like an evergreen top. So not as leafy, it would be more, some of them have some little spiky things and some balls on them, but we're going to put that up in here on this side. And I even brought this in a lot like down here. I did not carry it over because he needs to be coming out of water, so it could be that I'm splashing this up. It's gonna have to vary a little bit. So that's that guy. And in the middle, let's talk about what I'm doing with this, where I went wrong, and what I'm trying to fix right now, so you guys all have an idea of what's going on. So this middle tall guy is a plesiosaurus, starts with P. Lebowski, if you can help me, I'll grab my paperwork on it, but I've looked at them and they were these long swimming. Their bodies remind me a lot of the inside of a sea turtle, and their flippers or leg-like fin things, which come out, and the bone structure, you can see I'm starting to kind of get the feel of it by making the bone correct. So I'm really looking at their bones and how this is built so that I can build some kind of like a flipper swimming fin underneath this. I don't think they were webbed. I think this was inside, but I don't know. And I haven't done like digging as far as what that entire structure is. So I've got some work to do on that. But they had, some of them had short tails, some of them had really long tails, but they have these bones in the tails in the back, and very almost flat, but not quite, wide bodies. Reminded me a lot of turtles again. So I'm kind of building it with that in mind. And then they had these crazy long necks. Now I have tried this with head. I extended the neck from what I originally drew it. I think his head was like right in here. And then I wanted it longer because she's long, and depending on how I hit it towards the top of the painting, I wanted it really long. So I started building that. The head is not right yet, and I think this is my issue, and I'll kind of show you. I got the tracing paper. We're gonna work on this a little bit, and these are too big. But what I'm starting to do is kind of take this and go, if you see, she has her head tilted down, and we're gonna play with this a little bit. And I think like that is, he needs to be, even though they had these gigantic long teeth, and Lebowski, I am not sure what you just put in the search bar. Let me take a look, and everybody, if you guys want to end up clicking on that, yeah, plesiosaurus. And it gives you a whole bunch of different images, renderings. I usually like to go straight to the bones and the fossils and see what they looked like from that, so I can try to rebuild it myself versus looking at what somebody else assumes. Of course, there's cartoon ones in here. So all the skeletons and replicas, and really looking at there's 3D model kits. So you got to make sure and go, okay, well, what are the actual fossils? How complete is that fossil? Did they guess on some of that fossil? There's one that I see on here, scientific diagram, that's really interesting, but it's it looks like it's based off of, famous, they call them marine reptiles. So again, these are marine reptiles. They're not thinking of them as a fish. They're a really unique critter. And they have these really long necks, but they also have some wicked teeth. So in the photos of the fossils that I've looked at, they had like these teeth that are like, and as soon as I put those teeth in, he looks so evil, and she doesn't. So we are not going to put teeth in. We're going to try to keep this guy somewhat innocent looking and sweet, if that is even possible for an aquatic reptile. And sweet. He's a sweet guy. And so we're going to sketch this tonight and make his head more realistic, which is a lot smaller than this. I just kind of draw big. And I'll pull out my fossils, not the real fossils, but photos of fossils that I've pulled. And we're going to do a little drawing on that. The hair, I thought it would be really fun to have an octopus. And while they're octopus, so we don't have fossils of octopi. I'm certain that octopi existed back then. I just know it. Oh, here comes Pogo. She's a terror. Huh, you gonna come up here? So, instead of red hair, I have created an octopi. I think he's so fun. So he's not drawn out really, really well. I've got some video footage. I was trying to build the legs and the wrapping so that it mirrored the birth of Venus. So you'll see I kind of laid it right in here for this big, she's got this big thing of hair right here. She's kind of got a little bit that comes in front of the neck. So I have one of the tentacles coming back this way, and then these chunks of hair flying. And of course, I have all of this up here. And then down below where it goes around her hand, I kind of brought it back around this foot and then down in front. So that is all me trying to mirror all of this. Octopi were existed before bones were invented. That's funny. I like the aliens of the planet. They probably all talk about us. I did some research, and the flowers of that time were, now I forget the name, magnolias. They were magnolias. So all of these little flowers that are, I don't know if you guys can see that. Do you see the little flowers in the painting? I didn't mirror exactly where they were, but they are going to be magnolias. So I threw some magnolias in here. And there are these, in the bottom of this one, I don't know if you guys can see that. There, maybe you can see that. Do you see that right there? He threw in these, cattails. You know, like they have the tall top on them. It has a little thing sticking out of the top, and then the body's like a round tube on a stick. And I thought, I don't know if cattails existed at that time or not. However, I found reference for Cretaceous plants, and I thought I could get away with these guys in the Cretaceous period. So let me grab my references. There's so many. And I have a whole little chart that helps me with Cretaceous periods. Oh, and here I'll pull out some plesiosaur. Look at this. So do you see how look at their legs. Now look at these teeth, man. Crazy. They're crazy big teeth. Gigantic, right? Anyway, I have so many different images, but what I'm looking for right now are my plants. This may take me a bit. I have a lot of different references for things. Here we go. Prehistoric plants, flowers, eudicots, but there was ginkgos, water lilies. So they had an aquatic flowering plant, water lilies back then. And so I thought that I could get away with putting water lily. I think I took this photo. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I took this photo at a museum I went to. Maybe wrong. Look at those teeth. Aren't they crazy? But his long, long neck, and then how his body goes. And we don't see the back of him, so I don't have any stuff like that. But look, like this guy has a really long tail, but then I found some that they have shorter tails. This is a little shorter. Still pretty long, chunky tail. And then last piece, just so you guys, know what I was thinking, my crazy thoughts on how I built this painting was the seashell. And I just pulled that from this, and then I pulled a lot of seashells and said something like this exists back then. And yes, it did. So, I mean, probably not this massive, but you never know. They just haven't found it yet, right? Oh, so there were cattails in late Cretaceous period. There you go. Lebowski saves the day. Okay, so what we're going to do is a couple things. I want to make templates, and I am going to mount a piece of clean, untouched watercolor paper on a 22 by 30 board that is prepped, so that it doesn't, what you guys aren't seeing is that this paper is curling like crazy, and it makes me a little crazy nuts. So I am going to prep my materials and mount watercolor paper on a board, a giant board, put it under weight. And then when I transfer the drawing and draw it, it's going to be nice and tight on top. It will not curl. And I like how the watercolor flows. So we're going to go back to pure watercolor, which we have our entire set of colors. This kind of helped me work some of that out by painting this. And I might go back and forth between trying things out in small sections and then going back and doing it. Like when I do the water in the sky on this piece, I need to mask everything and then make big floods of color. So I'll make big mixes and flood it, and I think it'll be beautiful that way. But it's the only way that I can really get it right. So that's coming. Meantime, we're gonna work on trying to reposition this head. I think that's the first thing that we're gonna mess with tonight. Let's see, the cat is hoping that I get water out, but it is not happening. So she is gonna have to just live with things as they are. I need to pull some heads, skeleton heads, so we can kind of make sure that we stay on track. And then we're gonna draw this a little bit, and then I'm gonna switch over to this and start tracing all of these pieces, because the tracings are what are gonna help me rebuild, rescale, and make a template for the master work. This you see right here is really me working all of the ideas out. Okay? So if you have any questions, drop them in chat. Let me know. I'm kind of watching to see what's going on over there. And Lebowski does quite a bit of help on the side. He'll kind of chime in and answer questions if he can, or give you some resources if you're looking for those. So let me pull some of my crazy images. What did I just do with that whole stack I had? I must have put them on the bottom of my thing. I am, one of the things I'm going to do, my daughter and I are going to Australia this spring. And I am going to look at all their museums that in the cities we're in to see what dinosaurs they have and take tons of photos. Because our museum, of course, is closed right now for the next 6 months. So I do not have access to our bones. I would love to make a quick trip to Chicago to do some photography and research and drawing. Just knowing what I'm up to. So we'll travel down that road at some point, but I'm super excited about a museum that is so far away, or museums that are so far away that I don't have access to right now. Okay, so let's just pick something fun to draw with. If you haven't tried these, oh, they're so yummy. They just came out with a set of 72. And, you know, obviously, as you can see, I don't use the set of 24 very often. But I do like drawing with them. I haven't had them very long. They're really fun. So I'm going to grab this chocolate color right here. Set this over here and see if the cat decides to bug us. We've got these as reference. This guy is probably the closest to what I'm thinking with this head, but not really. I think that whatever I do, his head shouldn't be very big. So this was way too big. I really think I ought to limit it. And if I look back at her, I want to see the tilt of her head. Like her head, her eyes are over here. So maybe this guy has to have his head tilted more like this. I think that would work. And a small head. Because look at this. Look how big the body is. And then you compare it to the head. It's not very big. It's like about the size from here to here. So this part, so that's about right. Like this head would not be bigger than this. Now some of these guys, most of the time, look how narrow this is. I don't know if you see this. Really, really narrow. Same with this one. This, I think this is probably underneath where his head was turned. I think it looks like the underside of a jaw. Honey Wolf! Oh, how fun to see you. Hi. Welcome. I was going over what we're doing tonight, and I'm trying to fix my head on the Plesiosaurus. Where's my picture? And then I'll kind of show you my layout. And after we do that, I'm going to make drawings from this because I got to make the pterodactyls need to be smaller. They're gigantic. The head on this guy, I really want, we're going to work on this guy so that it's looking down instead of up. So it originally you could see underneath, that was all wrong. And then I put it to the side, that's all wrong. And so I think it needs to be a kinder, gentler Plesiosaurus. And I think the gaze needs to be more like in this land right in here. So I'm kind of looking at, you know, the bones and the head and how that would be built if looking at it in a different way. Like I've got this guy, so of course it would angle up and peak if this is the middle of it, and then a little nose coming in, and then there's a long hollow where the eye socket, the eyes look like they're pretty close up here. They look, oh, I bet those are the nostrils. It's got to be the nostrils. Has to be. I'm thinking that they would breathe from up here. And then the eyeball socket would be in here. And then the top of the head. And I don't want the teeth, I can't have this mouth open because the teeth are so wicked that it like instantly makes this guy look mean. And since the birth of Venus is sweet, yeah, I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to trace all the parts. Some of it I'm going to resize, and then I'm going to move it to a brand new mounted watercolor sheet. And I'm mounting, I just got my boards in yesterday. I think yesterday. What day did it snow? Is that yesterday? Night before. I got my 22 by 30 panels, and I'm going to mount the watercolor paper to it so that it remains flat, because this sheet is crazy. It's so wrinkly. You can't tell. So kind of, let me show you where I am on this and kind of show you. So the pterosaurs are going to be smaller. They'll still be up in the corner like this, but I'm going to make them smaller. And this was me working out composition, colors, and this will all be painted in watercolors. So there's gouache because I would redraw and rebuild and change things up. So it was an easy medium for me to work with to rebuild this. And then I rebuilt the octopus to match the drawing as much as I could. I'll kind of show you. That's her hair, is the octopus. So you can kind of see there's these tendrils that come down in here. That's going to be over in here. And then how this comes around and is in her hand, I just put over here, and this around the neck. So there's even this one that comes down in here. So that's my octopus. And then this guy, the Ichthyosaurus over here, is this one. And instead of fabric, because, you know, early Cretaceous, it's going to be kelp in like golds and orange, or colors to kind of mirror this color in here. And then I researched and found out that for the flowers, there were water lilies. Although Lebowski said there were also the cattails or whatever. Yeah, cattails in late Cretaceous. And then I was going to use water lilies, which are down here. And then magnolias were a plant, and I was going to use those for the flowers that are throughout. So I think I've got the colors picked out that will work well. And right now I've got to fix this head. This is one thing that really bothers me, is the head. You know, she's kind of innocent and sweet, and even though this is like an aquatic reptile that ate everything in sight, he is kind of my star of the show, or she is. So we've got to at least play like this aquatic reptile was some sort of nice critter. Okay, so let's look what I've got. I have, so that being said, there's my reference. She needs more red octopus hair. You have been whining about the hair since I started this. Not getting more octopus hair tentacles than you've got on this drawing. You're stuck. This octopus can't put all his tentacles up at the top, because then there's no tentacles for the middle or the bottom. We gotta balance our hair tentacles, Lebowski, which is hilarious. Okay, so again, nasty critter. And I'm looking at where the eyes were. Like, what did the eyes look like? Okay, so here, this guy has not as narrow. And it was a reptile. So I guess I need to look at, like, what would these eyes be like for a reptile? Would it look more like a dinosaur, aquatic reptile, where her eyes maybe just inset in here? I don't know. I'm gonna have to look at, I would think that it would look more like a crocodile or an alligator eye from the top if I did that without being creepy, because I can't go creepy on this. So that's my other big, and I might have to thin this head up. And I also want to know, like, what happened on the top of this between the neck and the top of this? You know, like, it's pretty square. I know that this peaked up here, this ridge bone that came down. So if the eyes are in here, and then this has a big peak over it and down, I'm trying to get the general feel for this shape that happened in here. And then the back of the head is my biggest pain point. But I think that might do it. And then I've got to look, I think I have an alligator or alligators, because I tend to like to look at alligators and crocodiles. They're very prehistoric looking to me, so I think they're a good resource. So we'll see in my giant resource library here. Aha! Oh, in fact, look at this guy. Check this out. That kind of gives me a little bit of an idea Ooh, and look at this guy. This is a good one. Boy, they're beady-eyed dudes, aren't they? Look at that. Beady eyes. You guys probably can't even see that. But they're, ooh, here's one. That gives me a really good feel. And I bet the back of the head was a lot like that as well. This one's a little dark, but I think I took this photo in, where was I? St. Augustine at the alligator farm, or the alligator zoo. I love these guys. Look at that with their little beady things on top. I wonder what their skeleton looks like. I'm going to have to see what their skeleton looks like to see the eye. The eyes on them. Okay, that does help. Believe it or not, that helps a lot. See, look at this. Look at this, guys. So here's this head, which isn't as, and look at him and how they're all placed in there. Boy, they look a lot to me alike. Same with these guys. And this guy. I love these guys. But yeah, love how narrow his snout is. Oh my, right? So we've got these little bulby things on top. What do I do with my pencil? All right, lost my pencil. Alrighty. Just like that, we're gonna have to get a different color. Pick my favorite one. Okay, so they're like a raised thing. And that over there. And then how is the top of that head? If he's looking down, where was that one guy? Here. See, I thought this was really telling. Like it might come out even a bit. Although, let me see something. Not that much. They're more straight back. And then connected to that brain in there. And I probably have his eyeballs too low. I bet they were more like in here. Yeah, and I think that would be a better plan. So the other thing you can do is draw on the drawing. So let's fix it a little bit. So I'm going to take this one and do this. And then I said I wanted this up here. And we've got that long nose out like this. And this eyeball, which I think helps give her a more, oh, I don't know, just a little sweeter. Just a little. Than what she was. We're not going to show too many teeth on her. And then I'm going to figure out what this is going to come down like this. And this we won't really see, so I still don't have it right. This, her eyeball looking this way. This one, her eyeball's over there. And then they have these little nostrils, just like these guys do. There's a couple little, what looks like nostrils in the bones. Let me see what I got over here. Yeah, look, up in here. Actually, I can put it right here for her nostrils. I guess I could give her a few little teeth. She is a dinosaur. She's looking more like a snake now. Okay. And, you know, like, did they listen back here? Where are these guys' ears? Let's look at my other reptiles. Which makes sense. I do like that they've got these chunky jaw things back in there, and that makes sense. They're chunky jaws, like that. So this will come down here. And even in here, maybe this was a little flatter in here. You guys can just listen to me think this through. Kind of funny. All right. That'll make her look a little sweeter. She almost looks cartoony though. So that's going to be my tough thing, is how to make her look not mean, not cartoony. I mean, that's a lot to ask, right? And yet true to the critter she was. Oh, and here's my other thing too. So if this head comes up, where would the head meet the neck? Is this realistic? Or should it have met like back here? No, I think that's about right. Like even if it meets in here, maybe I bring it over a little. Maybe a little. Okay, that might work. Okay, so we can then take that. I'm going to move this neck over. It's still a little odd on top. And maybe I give her some poofy pouchiness or something. I don't know. Or something up in here. I think it's the top of her head that's really, really weird. That's not quite right. This would go down in here. This is not turned right. Okay, so we got some work. Starting to look like something from a weird child story. Right? Well, let's try it again. Okay. Okefenokee Swamp. Yes! That would be awesome. Okay, so where is Okefenokee Swamp? I have no idea where Okefenokee Swamp is. Look how I reuse this like a bazillion times. So what if, play the what if game, and also do my ovals. I like doing my ovals on stuff. Kind of get the idea for like, is this realistic? Therein is part of my problem. So that helps me kind of build that shape. If this oval was getting bigger and bigger, this is my problem right here. Okay, I see it now. Sometimes we just have to do a little bit of make sense of it work. There we go. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it really helped me sort out. So all of this is a problem. And then where that neck will come in is part of it. And then down. Okay. I want to kind of just get this fixed. Stay in line with what I'm thinking. I don't know why this works for me, but it really does help me build a shape. this one back through the middle. That's there. And then let's put it in here and where her eyes would be. So I think, look at my reptiles again. Hey, Go West! You had gators next to your boat? Oh my goodness, I would have had so much fun. All right. Here's the eye right over here. So there is my neck. We're gonna go right in here. And we're gonna play it just like that. And that may, it looks like a sock puppet now. That is so funny. She does. She looks like a sock puppet. But she seems a lot sweeter. Maybe I'll give her sweet little eyelashes over here. And I can also bring this side of the face in like this. And then my nostrils, how are they in line with, let's see, I want to see the lineup between the nostrils and the eyeballs. But I want to look at one that's like from above. So that's the underside. That's not it. That's not it. How about this guy? Nope, not the right angle. Well, geez. That's too bad. Not the right angle. We're just going to go with this then. And I kind of like that. Okay, so there's my new head. I like it a lot. I think it's really sweet to mirror this. And if I want to paint it on there, I could, but I don't know if I will. I may, just so I can kind of work the details out, but I do like that. Okay, so one of the things I said, these guys are going to have to get drawn smaller. I may take them and photocopy them. Not sure yet. Earthworm face, a little bit, but we've got our nose, and while it looks fine from my angle, from your angle, it still looks a little wrong. So I'm going to work on it a little bit. But remember, we all know this, I do not do well drawing at an angle. I usually like it up. So, yeah, it's going to be a little goofy. Okay, let's take tracing paper. This is like, if you guys don't have tracing paper in your studio, you need some. You need some tracing paper. Like you need a cat. Or a couple cats. Yeah, a couple cats. All right, we're gonna do 2 pieces. Tape, artist tape. Tape this on the top. And then I can resize these guys. I can also rework it before putting it on the new drawing. Because in reworking this, all I seem to do is add layers and layers and layers of tape. Or paint, not tape, paint. Tape on the brain. So we're going to throw this down here. Because I'm going to get the rest of that wing. And then I'm going to draw a nice template and then take it and have it photocopied a couple sizes. You've got tracing paper. Do you like working with it? You guys want to chime in how you feel about tracing paper, if you like it, if you ever use it. If you're so good that you don't need it, that's okay. I tend to use it for all kinds of things. But like this, it was really nice to lay that over and kind of see what would work and rework it. Okay, so this guy, I think he needs some work, but oh, and they had, it looks like they have like this huge eye socket. And then the bones inside, so there's an inside and then there's like an area with bones and then a bigger thing yet. And then me curving the neck here was my take on this critter. I really thought it needed to be pelican-like. Boy, it reminded me a lot of a pelican. And then I brought in, at first I did these, you can kind of see leftovers. I did feathered wings, and then I went, wait a second, they have more of like bat stuff going on. So I brought them in and pointed them down. This one I wanted pointed down. Oh, and I went it over here. I think it's not quite wide enough. And then it comes down like this. And I spent a lot of time looking at their feet and then thinking about how those feet would hang in space. So making sure that I had the right number of toes, which there are 3, and then I think there's a little talon right up here. Now this isn't incredibly detailed, it still needs a little bit of work, but I got it to a point where I was kind of okay with where it was. And you guys, I don't know if you can tell, but you can kind of get a feel for how wrinkled this is as I press this down. You'll start to see it like, oh, tracing paper is for wimps? Lebowski, you just eyeball it. Of course, you wouldn't have the patience for tracing paper if you want to throw stones. Yes, I admit it. I'm a wimp. Actually, how many times have I just jumped in and started painting something and you're like, what are you doing? So I don't know that I'm that wimpy when it comes down to it. And then I'm gonna have to figure out what I do with this neck right here. I liked these a lot. This is little fingers. Kind of got them going on in here. They're not painted right yet, but. And then that comes up there. This guy coming back here and then around. So much simpler version of what I have, but gives us the idea of it. This leg is going to be in here and come up. And then I kind of like the idea of these toes just kind of gliding back. Because I was looking at the painting, you know, like I'm still trying to reference this painting and how their legs are in the painting. And I can take other tracing paper and, you know, try to resolve these feet and talons once I make some different sizes of this guy. So now, Lebowski, from here, I will wing it a little bit because I can't see everything through the tracing paper. So you need to take it and put it on something solid and then kind of look and see what did I kind of miss the boat on, or where do I want to change it up a little bit. Like this part where this beak meets in here and this up in here. And try to get these shapes right, simpler as I simplify it. Maybe this was a little too thick. And then looking at this guy, her neck, you know, like, does it need to be more like this and pouchy? Maybe. So what is everybody working on in their studios tonight? As we kind of work our way through this guy. I think that has to be back. Because they're so chatty and you can't even see me drawing up here. I'm like taking a look at these guys. And you'll see I'm reworking the template, like just on its own, to try to make the marks. I don't know, the line work. I want the line work really beautiful. So I'm looking at this, but I'm also going, okay, what would be a beautiful pattern? How can I make this better? So now, like, I don't even need that. I can just put this up here so you guys can look at it. Let's see. And I can pull out my reference fossils and say, is this realistic? Is this close enough? So if I pull my, let's see what I got here. And some of my guys. They're all in here. Yeah. Let's see what I got. No, that's not a gator. So like, I tried to pull some fossils in things like this to really get a feel. I was looking at their arms. Here's another one. Oh, this is my Plesiosaurus. Look at this, how long his head was, and it's turned to the side. So you can kind of see the side of it and how this bone came up here. I thought that was really interesting. Wrong critter. Radiodactylus I looked at. Here's a pterodactylus. But I have more fossils of these guys. I must have more piles laying around, or I can move them. So every time I go to look for the fossil that I just saw a picture of, it disappeared. I think that's how it works. I've got trees, I've got moss, I've got me. different poses. And you know what I need to do is organize my images in a folder by dinosaur name. There's a thought. That would be like immensely helpful. I've got drawings. I don't have what I need. Alright, oh well. I think I'm gonna have to give it up. Yep, different stuff. Okay. Well, that's sad. But I can't find any. I know we even saw some when we were going through this stuff earlier. So I don't know what I did with it. Not here. Nope, that's not another plesiosaur. Oh well. So I'll check this all later. And I kind of want to put this pattern in here because I think it would be really beautiful to have a pattern drawn right into it. Humming Wolf, thanks for stopping in. It was awesome to have you here. Everybody, go west. Thank you guys so much for dropping in and just supporting this dinosaur insanity. Fully admit it's a little bit crazy. But it's been very fun to do this series. And I can't wait. I think it's going to be so fun to do a tour. A whole bunch of pieces and you get to see them all framed. All right. I think that needs to be a little narrower. And his chest might need to be a little bigger. I think, you know, like this is the big tough guy. So he needs more oomph on him right in here. So I'll work out feet. And now I've got at least this part to give me a start. So I'm going to work on these later and try to get the feet right. They're still not, I'm going to have to pull up online whatever I can find with their little talons, and I think they might have one. I think there might be one here and then there's 3 in the bottom. So I want to make sure, like I'm not sure if it's on the outside or the inside, so I want to get that right. Like it's a little detail, but it's stuff like that that I want to get right before I start painting in watercolor. And then this, I know they kind of were like there's a span in between them, but this will be at an angle so you won't really see that much. So some little things like that, and then whatever I can do creatively. I might add in a little bit of feathers to them since they were flying reptiles. I don't want this just to be bat wing like material. I thought it would be fun to have a little bit of feathers to pull that concept of the angel into the image. So we'll do a little bit of work with that. So this is ready to go for me to work on a little more on my own. But that gives you an idea of that. Now, I don't want this to stick on everything. So my tape is exposed. I'm just gonna tape the back side, and now it won't stick to anything. It's just one big piece that I can stick on the photocopier. And I think that it's an odd size, 11 by 14. Yeah, so it's a weird size. Maybe diagonally I can put it on a photocopier and shrink it down so you can get it right. I think it needs to be probably like 20% smaller than what it is right now, but I can make a bunch of them and then try it out and lay them out on my new piece till I feel right and play with it. So that's, they gotta be smaller. They're just too gigantic. They take over the whole painting. So those are a problem, but I loved their composition and how they're sitting together and how that mirrors what's going on with these guys over here. And I think if I give them some feathers and pull some colors in, I'm gonna pull these golds into both their beaks and then the top up here. And in there, like hers is a little more pale and green gold. He has this red in his hair and his wings are darker. So I want to do that, and then I want to bring a little bit of gray into it. And that could be in some of the feathers if I build some feathers in here. So that might be really nice. Like just a little, I don't know that has to be much, and maybe they're scraggly. Do any of you guys know if are there any reptiles out there that have scraggly feathers currently? Or like even a few, or hairy things coming out of them. If you know, drop it in the chat and let me know. Because I'd love to know that. Okay, so this guy, love his new head. That's going to be great. And I could even paint that out. We could get the paints out and do a little bit of work on this. That would be kind of fun. I guarantee Pogo's going to show out of nowhere if I bring paint out. And then let's get the rest of his body with that tracing before I go and do something stupid and ruin it. So we're going to get another big, oh, I had one. Maybe I used it. Yeah, there it is. I knew I had one. Okay. This guy goes up here on the drawing table. This one, we're going to have to build a new sheet. So his little body is coming in here. And then I need a partial piece. Not very big, just a little one. I thought I had. I do. I think we just tear a piece of this bad head and put that out on the flipper. Over here, yeah. So we'll do like this. Awesome sauce! And then we'll do the octopus. You know, I can get most of this octopus in here if I, nope, not that way, not that way. I can't get all of his hair. That's a shame. But let's do this, and let's tape it down here. And then what you guys can't see is over here. Put this over here. So we've got the shell also. So the question is, do we go ahead and do, because look, if I do it this way, actually, this is an interesting thought. If I do it, nope, still does not fit. It actually worked. Nope, I don't want to do it that way. Part of me kind of wants to do it like this and that. Then this is in between. So I don't want to cover up anything I have to draw. And then I could put a whole different sheet up there or another piece. I'm kind of looking at what I've got. That's not long enough. Another partial? No. You too will get stingy with your tracing paper and start to figure out the best way to use the least amount. So stingy. I am so stingy. Holy cow. Okay. Look at me. Stingy with tape too. So stingy. Okay. And I want to be able to see what I'm doing, so I don't want to overlap these guys if possible. All right, here we go. See, like this drives me crazy. This right here. That's better. And yet I am stingy. Okay. Okay, what is happening here? So now I get to a point where I want to put his craziness on here so that I know what I was thinking. I think that helps form it. Okay. Now here is his octopus leg. On this one. And I think I have in my files some big sheets of stuff. So I could, in fact, I want his neck to be a little smaller, so I'm going to go in here. Reposition all of this and make him one big piece. But I'll keep reworking these, and it'll help me come up with a good plan so you guys can see what I'm doing up here for this guy. So the question is, does this neck, okay, hold on, sit right? Does it come down? If this is coming down in here, does it come down correctly? And is this big enough right in here? This might have needed to have been a little bigger. And this is his fin-like thing. So here's this other part, comes down and is all wrapped up. And then I've got my fabulous octopus. Love the octopus. Who doesn't have enough tentacles, Lebowski, up on top. Spines like an iguana. That's all you can find, Lebowski? Okay, so this guy, I want it to come around here. I know I want it to come in here. And I don't want to confuse myself too much on how these legs come out. Oh, it's going to be so fun doing all of the sucker cups on these and trying to get them right. Okay, what is happening with all these legs? With this guy, I know. And this guy, but we gotta figure out where they go. Like, what was I doing? Move this. And this goes around and back. Okay, so 1 is attached to here. 2 is attached to there. We've got 3. Okay, it comes back and around. So this guy comes all the way back. And then he wraps underneath there and then around. Okay. Then we've got this one. Oh, this comes from behind and down. Okay, so let me see. Yes. So he's got a leg back there we can't see. And it comes around and then down. Okay. Then this guy works his way from here, comes up, would actually work its way back here, and then come in and under. So this guy goes like that. Okay. Okay. So we've got this leg is 1, 2, 3. Okay. This one is 4. So 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do it this way. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we need to connect 7 and 8 to here. And it could be as simple as this comes in this way and back this way. That's 7. So this is 7. And number 8, we just see this part right here. I think that's kind of how we have to do it. It's 1, 2, 3. We don't want to do more than 8 legs, Lebowski, unless I have a second octopus. I don't think it's that off. Look, here we go. We've got this. I've got it curling around down here. Most of this is over in here and coming down. Okay, these guys we could, to be truer to it, you are correct. To be more iconic and true, I can change this guy. So this one could come around like this. And I'm not going to worry about this guy because we can move things. So this one and So this is 6. 7. 7 could come in a little lower and come back down just like the hair. So more like that. And then 8, I'm not quite sure how to get, I mean, the only other way would be to have, I almost need like another octopus. Because he feels weird when he's up high. I've tried him up high. I don't like him up high. And I really don't want to go. So I don't mind like bringing these guys like this. But I still think I'm going to leave him. I'm not going to put anything over here. Because I think that would make it just weird. Too weird. It's going to look like a horse or something. So I'm keeping my octopus where it is, Lebowski. She's bald wearing an octopus cloak. Well, what do you think? Do you think I should have the octopus like on top of her head? Because of the weight of everything, this is perfect. I can have a gigantic octopus and it weighs right. I've got 2 heads otherwise. Because it doesn't feel right when I put it in here. I've tried it. I'll keep trying it, but I completely disagree with you on this one. Just completely. So these legs are a little more. I'm okay with her being bald too, FYI. Maybe we throw some seaweed up there and some kelp. How about that? Want a little seaweed on top? Just throw that on top of her head. Okay. I hear you, Lebowski, but I'm not listening. There's that. There's this. There's this. There's this, so you guys can see what we're doing. I'm gonna move her head up a little bit while we work on this part and get a little bit of the bones that I started drawing in, just so I don't lose track of them. I really just wanted to get a feel for the bones and how they would go. Okay. Same over here. And this one I flared out a little bit, but I don't think it would ever be flared. I bet they were stuck in the together. They had 5. It's like fingers, and the middle one was the longest one, which I thought was really interesting. 5 pieces in that flipper. The other thing that he was too flat, or she was too flat when I started out drawing this. So I've been really working to try to round this piece. And the tail is probably way too, well, first of all, I can tell you the tail is not centered. And the tail probably isn't visible. Like I'm wondering if I should even put, maybe I have the tail, maybe we don't see the tail at all. Instead of having it down here, the tail might be up and behind where we wouldn't see it. Feel free to chime in on the tail, Lebowski, since you can't let the hair go. And I think I was like counting bones and everything when I was doing this. So I have to go back and check those before I start resizing stuff or moving stuff. And get this general idea of the shell. You guys still with me? You probably can't see what I'm doing. Oh yeah, here. I gotta move it all the time because this camera needs to be up about 12 inches taller for these big pieces. I'm gonna have to change that so you guys can see more of what I'm doing. And the whole thing, it's hard when you're just seeing pieces, little pieces. Okay. So that gives us a start, and then I can take this piece off. I'm gonna leave his head on there. But like the other, now I can take this and I can start looking at it. First of all, that can be reused for something else, but it makes it a little more manageable. So this is what I was saying with Lebowski. And now that we have this piece, we can play a little bit. Like I could say, okay, well, what would it look like if I went back to the drawing board? Okay. On her head. Let's take another piece of this. And let's say that the octopus legs, or there was a baby octopus up here. Actually, it needs to be like this. Like that. So, like, if this were an octopus leg on top of here, and you guys can chime in. Here's the top of her head. So maybe it would work, but we need to pull it off exactly like the painting. I'm gonna need an octopus. Oh, and I need one over here, which maybe a little bit of this we could, that's a really big octopus. I don't know. I think it's really, I'm gonna play with this. So, like, there's that. I don't know, guys. Maybe Lebowski is right. I hate to say it, but, and, you know, if Lebowski hadn't been so awesome lately with helping me so much, I'd be really mad. But honestly, if I weren't so stubborn, I'm so stubborn. this may actually work. I just have to figure out how to do the placement of the octopus or make the legs unusually long. Just crazy, crazy long. So this is where the other one will come in, like this. So if I mirror, or it would be like this. Might be like this. Here, I'm thinking this way. Crazy long octopus legs. So there. What do you think, guys? Chime in. Anybody with me? I'm like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Anyone? Anyone? And then, of course, we would need to bring it down. Let's get a new piece. We're just going to do it like this. Change my whole octopus. Dang it, Lebowski. You make me so mad. Put this on the neck. Maybe the head right here. A little bit on the neck. Because then I can draw in. You guys notice when there's no water, Pogo does not come around? She's such a brat. Okay, and then we would need to have octopi leg action, multiple octopi legs in here, but then also so I would split them like this. If we got the neck and this, and then I guess this would work. So if this one goes down there, so there's that one. We could do it like this, yeah. And then this one, who knows where that's at? I don't know. And then even leave the rest of it. Bring this back down again to him. I don't even mind this right here. So I've got 1, 2, 3. What do you guys think? Here, move this up. So now, boy, it sure does look a lot more like it. Lebowski, are you paying attention? What do you think about that? So we've got, I could even leave, like I said, this one here. And then and I could still have this and this one wrapping around. It's just that the octopus would be like, where is he? I'm gonna make sure I get him lined up right. Like that. So now we've got, oops, wrong one. Where's my red one? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could even do one more octopi leg. Like I could still do one more. Move him up a little bit more so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. Octopus, octopus, octopus. Drawing the octopus. Okay, look at that. You approve. I love it. Lebowski approves of the change. I can't believe it. Wowzers, right? And we still have room. So all we did was change that whole top of him. The rest can stay the same. Pretty cool, huh? So that is all the magic. It's almost 8 o'clock. That's the magic. That's pretty awesome, right? Just with some tracing paper. So working out the ideas, really I put a lot of time into trying to get this painting right. And then this is kind of cool because it will, there's him in the middle. Okay, we'll have smaller birds. And then that may be a nice, I like the serenity of this a lot. Lebowski, you are right. That looks just like the painting. A lot more like the painting than what I originally had. So that works. Plus I got to draw with my Derwent drawing pencils, which if you guys have not tried these, you've got to draw with these. They're so fun. Oh my goodness, they're fun. So they're called Derwent drawing. Like I said, I just have the set of, let's see what I got here. I'll show you what they are. You could do this with a pencil too, but I really thought it would be fun to use the Derwent drawing ones. Derwent drawing. There you go. And they look like this, and they're just really, they're just a colored pencil, and they're soft. They're super soft. So I like the texture a lot. They're creamy. I like to draw with them. Okay. So we made major progress on this, believe it or not. And thank you all for tuning in and watching. We'll see how much I get done in the next week to share with you all. Or maybe we'll move on to the next one while I finish this one. And that's all I got, other than to try to find all the art supplies I managed to lose during this show. How I lost them, I don't know. I can't even blame the cat. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. Oh, real quick, dinosaur shirt. Let's see. If history repeats itself, I am so getting a dinosaur. And I also have dinosaur socks on today. So, love you all. Have a fabulous weekend, whatever you do. Hopefully involves some art making. And I will be back again next Tuesday for Art Tip Tuesday. In the meantime, happy holiday shopping, happy art making, happy weekend, happy life. Thank you all. Bye.